What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? The Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then do it 50 more times to check results against each other. I'd train gorillas in weightlifting, really see how tanked they can get. Boost them with steroids along the way. After that, I take my army of beasts, pump them full of cocaine, and let them loose in an empty shopping mall. Wanna see which stores they like and which ones they don't. You know, for science and shit. Edit. I've had some fantastic input from you geniuses. To add, the gorillas will be trained in all beef up exercises, even though science is against me on this one. We're gonna throw some PCP in with the cocaine. Cybernetic hearts to handle the load of coke, yada, yada, yada. Thought I had more on this. Oh. And the mall is empty because I'm not a freaking murderer, you guys. Quit trying to kill everyone. Not all science is about death, jeez. See if a monkey tribe could become dominant over the rest by training them to make and use weapons and other primitive technology. Also interested in seeing if they would take their newfound knowledge and begin to expand an empire. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are fine, but the cost of having that many roses in a hothouse and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. Have an Olympics where every single athlete is drugged to an insane level. I think it would raise what is possible by today's standards drastically. How long a decapitated head stays conscious? All we have are anecdotes that might have been exaggerated. I've always wanted a definitive answer, but you know, ethics. How athletes from different sports react to fight or flight. Even further, would they fight differently than others? How would the world react to a mountain of 100 billion pennies for free in the middle of a major area? I'd want to see what a society of children would do on their own if they were alone from birth. Of course, adjustments would have to be made for when they were infants, but beyond that, how would they develop language, ethics, mythology, culture? And as they got older, how would they handle coming of age without adult role models? Though unethical, I think an experiment like that would answer a lot of questions about sociology, psychology, anthropology, and philosophy. It would be like watching the beginning of human society from scratch, with no external influence. Edit. Yes, I have read Lord of the Flies, however that is a work of fiction. Edit 2. You guys have a lot of brilliant ideas on how to improve this experiment and a lot of true stories to make hypotheses on. I'm really enjoying reading this thread. Near-death experiences, and what people see. So basically I'd want to kill a bunch of people then bring them back to life. I'm sure a lot of them wouldn't make it back. CRISPR the absolute fuck out of some kids and make some next level humans that can run stupid fast and jump crazy high, then make the superhuman Olympics trademark sign and figure out what humans are really capable of. Edit. Oh shit, first gold. You and your offspring will be exempt from my CRISPR trials. Dinosaur cloning, what else is there to do? Oh man, I love this question. There are a ton of geoengineering experiments that I'd love to run if they weren't both 1. Illegal, 2. Insanely expensive, 3. Non-zero possibility of death and destruction. Iron fertilization. Basically dumping tons of iron dust into the ocean to cause an algae bloom, which should sequester a bunch of carbon and help mitigate global warming. Cloud seeding, space mirrors, dropping a nuke into a volcano. You know. Normal stuff. Teach a kid the wrong words for everything and see how long it takes for them to adapt. Another edit. Thanks for the gold. Also, it seems a fair number of people have done this to kids on a very small basis. Seriously, do not do this to anyone on any scale. This post is based on the concept of setting morals aside. This is a massively horrible thing to do. Edit. A few people have commented that this is the same as learning a second language, and I want to address why that is not the case. When you learn a second language, you are assigning a new word that has no previous meaning to you, to a concept that you already know. So you know what an apple is, and you stack pomme on top of that when you learn it in French. But you aren't learning a new word, you're taking a word that already is assigned to another concept and trying to apply it somewhere else, while forgetting the original connection. Your brain isn't good at breaking neural connections. So you have to start thinking that you take a bite out of a car, apple, and you get in your roof, car, to drive to blue, work. This is much more difficult because your brain automatically tries to learn new things, but has no good mechanism for forgetting. Based on comments, it seems that some have experienced this with single word swaps and it has been very difficult to overcome. I'm inclined to think that this would actually break someone. Experiment deemed unnecessary. Genetic altering of humans. I don't currently have an issue with anyone that wants to do it on themselves, however to do it to an embryo or through the parent's DNA to see what we could do to advance humans would be amazing alterations to intelligence, memory, physical attributes, gills to swim underwater, visual alterations to see the full light spectrum and hearing for the full sound spectrum, immunity to all diseases and harmful bacteria, ability to eat almost anything for sustenance. I will make 5 subjects of sane and healthy mind placed in a facility with 5 psychopaths, insane murderers. They will have group activities in a pair of 2 from each group and the activities will be of 2 types, moral and immoral. Then I will conduct results about how much these activities affect the subjects in both groups. Edit. They are not in a prison. They are just being volunteers. Prison is totally different scenario and the Stanford Prison Experiment. https://en.m.wiki/stanford_prison_experiment had totally different outcomes. These group of 2 will go through a murder activity, but psychopaths are not allowed to murder their partner or anyone other in the experiment. Raise a child without ever punishing or rewarding them, just let them do whatever they want. And then see what happens to their behavior when they age. I've actually thought a ton about this. I would put 2 people through the exact same conditions the entire life. Now I'm not talking just similar scenarios but everything from the weather inside the womb to the humans they interact with to the wind every day, and I would see if they are the same. Essentially, if humans are born with personalities or if we develop them through little things all our life, essentially the butterfly effect. TBH, this probably wouldn't even be possible with infinite money, but it would be cool. Have a baby a human raised by apes, basically to see if Tarzan scenario would occur and the human is able to communicate fully with the apes. With Elon Musk's Neuralink thing, the first thing I thought of was an unethical experiment. If you attached a whole bunch of wires to the speech center and audio center of the brain of a bunch of children, and network them together, I wonder what kind of language they would develop and how they would communicate with what is essentially telepathy. I'd study the long-term effects of low-G on humans, by sending a habitat to the moon, and then sending supplies and volunteers. And I'd send a lunar bulldozer to cover the habitat with regolith because I'm not particularly interested in contaminating my results with radiation exposure. Throw 2 groups of toddlers, one boys and the other girls, on 2 separate islands. Provide them food via robots and not teach them anything regarding gender, sexuality, race, language, etc. and see how they develop, and never mention to them the opposite sex and have them be racially diverse too. It would answer so many questions regarding psychology. That is sexual orientation a product of nature or nurture? Are humans born with innate gender roles? Are humans naturally tribal and or xenophobic, etc.? Edit. Thanks for the silver and gold. A couple of people confusing attraction towards the opposite sex with desire to procreate. Some gay people want to have kids too. How children develop when occasionally microdosing LSD. I'd run a serial killer contest. First person to successfully kidnap and kill 50 people receives $10 million 1 year after the last kill, if they are not caught by authorities and if they can prove the killings. How many persons would undertake this? How many victims would there be? Brain transplants from humans to animals and vice versa. Redesigning the human sinus. I wish to find a way to modify the body to fix that mess of an airway. I'd like to clone several sets of baby Hitlers and see how they grow up in different environments. Some can include a loving family, the kind that you barf at because they're so perfect, a Jewish family, an artistic family that encourages his talent, an abusive family similar to the one he grew up with, a family of scientists, and finally, the most unethical environment, a family of politicians. I'd love to pit elite Madden gamers versus NFL play callers and see who is better at game management and play calling. Not necessarily a scientific experiment, but a series of experiments to see how you can control nerve sensations from the brain and whether it can create VR that can perfectly mimic the sensation of touch whilst being motionless. As if you're moving and touching something in a virtual world but not in the real world. Is that even possible? I want to send someone to space without a spacesuit. I've read about everything that can happen. I just want to see it on film. To measure the effect on development of humankind by eliminating the least intelligent 5% of the human population every year based on monthly standardized testing.